LeBron ripped the rotund Brian Windhorst, saying the NBA reporter, well, rather let me tell you, let's hear LeBron himself. Here's LeBron commenting on Windy, the longtime NBA reporter who went to the same high school as LeBron in Ohio.
I see a lot of too. Like I seen Brian Windhorst on one of these shows not too long ago. Like
Windy.
Yeah, you played over high school.
Windy, you guys played together in high school.
Yeah,
right? He was on your high school.
This guy who's like, says he's like my best friend. These guys are just weird.
Just weird. All right. So someone say LeBron's weird. Here's LeBron also. He talked back and forth about Stephen A. Smith. He compared Stephen A. Smith to Taylor Swift. He went on that rant, said that he's on a Taylor Swift-like tour run at this particular point. He also explained why he stepped in to honor his son and his teammate there when things got off the rails. And here's a little taste of what that was like.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh, yeah, we're watching it. Yep. We're all
If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you can address it, it's your ass. Like, seriously, he completely, missed the whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players.
Yeah, well, you do that in public. You could have done that in private. But wait, there's more. LeBron also broke down his relationship with Michael Jordan. Spoiler alert, he says he has none. Says that's not going to happen until Jordan retires. Also, double spoiler alert, they ain't hanging out when when he retires. LeBron retires either. But wait, there's more. Now, LeBron also suggesting the 2003 lottery the draft lottery that saw the hometown Cadavers win the LeBron sweepstakes, that was a rigged deal, that he implied that was rigged. So let us discuss the question. What vibe did you get from the very lengthy LeBron James fireside chat with Pat McAfee? So I've got Egyptian, roller coaster, and McMillions. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a mirror. Because there's one thing LeBron loves more than anything, and it's glazing at himself in the mirror. He loves it. All right, so obviously there's a lot to chew on here, and I did watch a big chunk of this. I was on the treadmill, and I wanted to poke my eyes out till they started bleeding. But the big takeaway is this was obviously an oasis for LeBron. A couple years ago, the very popular term safe space. This was a safe space for LeBron, a very secure environment. And watching the YouTube clip and then hearing the audio and putting everything together, it reminded me of ancient Egypt, the ancient Egyptians. And you see some of the drawings they left behind from ancient Egypt and the hieroglyphs. And imagine, if you will, in the cartoon bubble above your head, because this is what I was envisioning. LeBron is a pharaoh, and he's sitting on the Pat McAfee pedestal, surrounded by McAfee fan bearers. And they use those ostrich feathers, because that's what they did in Egypt. They use those ostrich feathers, and they fan LeBron to comfort him. And if that doesn't work for you, you could go more like a more modern reference that LeBron was at a 7-Eleven, and the only item that he was getting from the McAfee crew was the Slurpee. It was a slurp fest. Slurp, 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 slurp. You even had Rich Paul, the right-hand man for LeBron, the deal maker, who was in the studio making sure that everything went just as planned. Don't ask about that. Don't ask about that. Be careful what you talk about. All right, now, page 2. So how did LeBron's general commentary about his NBA journey strike you? Because a lot of it was fluff about LeBron, the kid from Akron, blah, 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 blah. So that part of it was like a roller coaster ride. And I'm not talking about a real white-knuckle roller coaster. I'm talking about Dumbo, the flying elephant, and LeBron, half man, half elephant. He's got the memory of an elephant. He never seems to forget. Near photographic memory for those who have taken shots at him. Now, the part that I liked the most was he's still bitter all these years later. It's almost been a generation, and LeBron's still bitter about people pointing out how absurd that Fugazi decision thing was in Connecticut and how absurd that was. And he claimed, that was the turning point. That's when I realized that I didn't like the media. And really, LeBron's not all that special. He's just your classic grudge holder. And this is a dime a dozen. As I have said for many, many years, my position has not changed. The most important element in sport is the critic. Because every team that wins, every player, even a guy like LeBron James, who's been dominating the regular season for years and then usually screws up in the playoffs, but LeBron still has that chip on his shoulder because of the critic, right? He retains all those negative comments, and he just stews in those juices. He just stews in them. He's determined to prove the doubters wrong. And even when it's manufactured outrage, it doesn't seem to matter. All right, now, last word here. So, is there a deeper meaning? Let's get to that. What I thought was the most interesting part of this was LeBron James implying that the draft lottery has regularly been rigged. And it certainly was rigged when the Cavs picked him back in 2003. So, yeah, there is a deeper meaning. I think this is a big deal. And it's one thing for Joe Blow, talk show host, to say it's rigged. It's another thing for some dopey bot or algorithm on social media to say it's rigged. But this is the bloody face of the league who seemingly believes that the NBA is a corrupt organization. Right? How else could you take that? Right? It seems like that's going to have legs. Keep in mind that this storyline is as old as time, right? As old as time. And I remember the former commissioner, the late, great, venerable David Stern, who dealt with this because he was the commissioner when they first rigged the lottery for Patrick Ewing in the 1980s. And David Stern dismissed it at the time. In fact, he said he didn't really care as long as people were talking about the NBA. Yeah, but now we're in the age where you shouldn't talk about us because I don't like what you say. But back then, they were like, as long as you're talking about us. Now, there obviously is no hard evidence, meaning no one's come out. There's no whistleblower that has said, the lottery's rigged and here's how they did it. There's none of that. There's no hard evidence. There's a lot of circumstantial clues. Right? There's many convenient outcomes that have driven the conversation, such as LeBron referenced when he won, or his team, the Cavaliers, his local team, Eunice Macklin over in Cleveland, won in 2003. Hometown kid stays in Cleveland. The Chicago Bulls got their local hero, Derrick Rose, in 2008, and I believe they had a less than 2% chance that year of winning the draft lottery. And then the other thing is when LeBron left for Miami, the conspiracy was, to make things better for the Cavaliers and Dan Gilbert, the owner, we'll make sure that you get some good players in there. So the Cavaliers, in the span of, how long was LeBron in Miami? 4 years or something like that? The Cavaliers got 3 number 1 picks in that time while LeBron was in South Florida. 2011, 2013, and 2014. And so that raised some eyebrows. Well, wait a minute. What's going on with that? Are you trying to set the Cavs up? And like the league took care of Cleveland because they lost LeBron and that lost a lot of capital. Nobody wanted to go to those games. The draft lottery truthers will point to these patterns and also the ultimate storyline. Like, it's a TV show. You need good stories for a TV show. Even though it's supposed to be real and, you do the whole fiction, nonfiction thing, it's supposed to be real. However, you got to have storylines. And if you need to nudge those along a little bit and it helps the revenue, it helps the bottom line, you do it. And the idea that it's impossible, that, there's too many people involved, you hear that a lot. But remember that McMillions. I saw that documentary a few years ago. It's great. I recommend it. It's still around. You can find it if you know where to look. But that was the one where they rigged the much-beloved McDonald's Monopoly game. And so they rig, if you can rig that, And they got away with it for a very long time before somebody stepped in there. I guess I remember Uncle Jerry, if you saw the documentary, Uncle Jerry, some mob guy, was setting it up. But since the weighted system started in 1990, so that's almost 35 years of the draft lottery. The team with the top odds has won the number one overall pick. Number one. About 25% of the time. About 25% of the time. And the nerds, the people that are good at math, will say, well, that's right on par with the probability. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's all good. But the theory is that you don't manipulate it every year because not every year is there a generational player. There just isn't, right? There's a lot of years there's like suck bag guys, some dude from France you've never heard of who will not sell a single ticket. So you don't really rig it for that. Who cares? But when it's rare and appropriate that you can help a storyline along, hey, listen, I buy it. I buy it, and I have worked over the years with some people that were part of that famous 1985 draft lottery where the Knickerbockers got Patrick Ewing, and based on what they have said and others I have spoken to, I totally now, again, I don't think they do it every year, but rare and appropriate. There's some funny business that goes on.